I would like to welcome everyone. Thank you very much for listening to me today. And I would like to welcome the leaders of the Hungarian sports associations and director and strategic advisor of director of the Hungarian Sports University. And I also met him at another conference previously this month. The title of my presentation is Vision for a European Esports Federation. We did this presentation, made this presentation together with Balázs Bíró, and it is about a vision of a European Esports Federation, because these are the regional.
E tekintetben az e-sport sem fog tudni másként működni. Leírtam magamnak egy pár gondolatot magyarul, de a lényeget elmondom. Tehát kezdjük abban, hogyha valamit fontos dolog, ha valamit sportnak nevezünk, akkor annak sportnak, versenysportnak nevezünk, akkor annak meg kell felelni az adott országnak a sportjogi előírásoknak, illetve a sportnak a kapcsolatos elvárásoknak. Egy új sportág létrejötte kapcsán, jelen esetben az e-sport, minden sportágra vonatkozó versenyzés, egyéb szabályt megalkotása annak a kontinentális e-sport szövetségnek vagy világszövetségnek a feladat. Ezt más nem csinálhatja meg helyettük. E tekintetben déjà vu volt, amikor 2005-ben az amerikai futballt barátaimmal meghonosítottuk Magyarországon. Ugyanezek a szabályokat nulláról minden területen, versenyszabály, gazdaság, marketing, föl kell építenünk sportág specifikusan, úgy, hogy a magyar törvényeknek, sporttörvényeknek meg kell felelnünk, plusz a nemzetközinek. Akkor, hiszen nekünk már volt nemzetközi szövetségünk. Ugye itt van egy ilyen záró mondat, egy ilyen kis poén. Ugye az első lépés teljesen normálisan meg kell alakítani az e-sport szövetséget, hiszen arról már meggyőződtünk folyamatosan az eddigi konferenciákon és a mai előadásokon is, hogy erre megérett az idő, sőt, tudjunk róla, hogy már ilyen szerveződések vannak, de ugye az a kérdés, hogy miként. Na, akkor ezt most nézzük meg, hogy miként. Nagyon fontos elem, amit látunk, itt borzalmasan sok adat van, nem kell megírni, egy a lényeg. Az e-sportot nem kell újra kitalálni, a hagyományos sportvilág föl van építve, amelybe az e-sportot be kell építeni. Ez nem jelenti azt, hogy az e-sport az adottságait, az eladás technikáját, a piacát, a metódusát, mindent, ami az e-sportra jellemző, fel kéne adni, nem, neki illeszkednie kell az adott világba, és, ahogy elhangzott nagyon jól és pontosan, együtt kell működnie az e-sportnak a hagyományos sportági piaccal. Azért kezdünk a hagyományos sportági piaccal, és azt nagyon gyorsan átnézzük, mert hogy értsük meg, hogy ez ki van találva, működik minden szinten, kontinentális és világszinten. Tehát ezt a részét, és sportszakmai jog területén, szervezési területen, versenyszervezési területen, minden sportág adottságai, sajátosságai szerint, tehát az e-sport is a saját maga sajátosságai szerint, de ez föl van építve egy föntről lefele működő oda-vissza rendszerbe, és ennek megvan a teljes körű sportjogi felépítettsége, amely például GAI-s tagságot.
Framework and these sports branches are members of the Global Association of International Sports Federations, so everything is set up. In this big chart, you can see that there are 4 different areas, and this goes for all of the sports branches. So 4 areas. The simplest is the European casual sports branch. You know what this is about. There are continental events organized. The next one is amateur, junior, and adult athletes, para athletes, and para junior and para adult athletes and professional adult athletes. So these are the 4 different major areas, and of course there are different branches within this, so individual sports, team sports, in the professional sports. For para-athletes, you've got also individual and team sports, junior sports, adult sports, sports for people living with disabilities, etc. The types of competitions you can enter in the professional area, it is decisive whether it's a team or an individual sport, how the competitions are organized, and professional sports make a living of this, so you have to emphasize this. And depending on the branch, the professionals receive governmental support. Of course, it depends on the country. In Hungary, they receive. Also, you've got the amateur branch, where you also have the school competitions as well. In this branch, the next level, participation in competitions. For professionals, you know that in this case you've got the qualification levels, and there are the criteria. For example, the first two in the championship league, they can go on to the next competition, so there's no general rule, but for the given branch, usually they set up the different qualification levels. The same goes for the para and the amateur sports. Here it's a very important difference, that there are no professional national teams, so there's no national team for professionals. There are national teams, of course, but in the amateur level there's no such thing, because we play for winning, for the victory, and not for money. For example, if we look at a European championship, then you win the European championship, you get the quota, and you can go for to the Olympic Games if it is a criterion. You need to know these things. Why? Because it already works for the traditional area, for the traditional sports area. So this is set up, this framework, and this already works, and you just have to adopt it to the e-sport. So what I've already told you, the system is working, and it is a phasing up system. So it works nicely. For example, in the American football, we had to adhere to the given framework, so it was not us who were telling what should be done, but the federation. So at the different assemblies, in the different committees, of course, we negotiate, we debate about the different things, we send our material to different committees, and when there's a competition and we would like to change something, then of course the members of the federation discuss it and make a decision in the end. It's not by chance that I started with sports and not the legal framework, because sports already include, the sports system already includes the legal framework. Now let's talk about the setup of the European Federation that we imagined. There's nothing to be invented here already. There's no miracles. Just a couple of points. So at the moment, we have a lot of open games. There are no set-up federations yet, or set up frameworks yet. There are no clear championships. So everything is, so to say, free, open. So we need to set up a stricter system. We need to make a distinction between professional and amateur sides. Because, for example, if I am a good gamer, how do I become a European champion? And then what kind of champion am I, an amateur or professional? So it is very important. We've got in the sports simulator a part, this already works because in technology, the simulators are there. They are already used. Just think of motorsports, racing sport, Formula 1. There are a couple of places where I can go, pay some money, and I can choose a PC, a simulator, and I can practice. And for example, I went with my grandchild, who is 12 years old, and the child performed in such a way that they said that he reached the level of the Boeing pilots. So what is important here is that the digital world never stops. It goes, it works, it goes on and it develops. So you don't have to contradict the traditional sports. You need to cooperate. You need a cooperation between the two areas. So we need to look at the existing framework. It is very important. And then you have to try to somehow incorporate esports into the system of sports. So it's not enough to look like sports. You need to adapt your systems. The whole, if you look at this table, the area which is blue, this is the 10% which we already have, and we still need to set up a lot of things which is in the background. And it doesn't mean that esport will change because of official things or official frameworks. No, it's just that the gamers will have an opportunity to get into a framework, to become champions, to go upwards step by step. So in the middle area, you can see what the federations and what the team members have to do. They need to think over what kind of championships should be organized. And with this, I'm trying to say that all parts of the federation need to be planned and designed very meticulously. Below, you can see the Hungarian area. In the upper level or the upper part of the screen, you can see the European part. And if you look at on the right side, the green area, this is the open game system, and you really have to keep an eye on that, because that gives you the market where you get the return on investment. You can improve with this the quality sports area as well. Why? With the leisure systems, we only have individual agreements, and if you look at the classical operations, the existing federations are in a legal framework. They are members of a federation, and they belong to a national federation. So the association belongs to a federation. Federation belongs to a European federation. So there is a system. It works already. However, in the case of the leisure area, it's a huge problem that there are a lot of individual agreements, teams, whatever, the payments, the different clubs, etc., etc., and these are not coherent. They are scattered. So while if you look at the European Championship, it can be coherent. Who belongs to which federation, etc., which umbrella federation. It's nice. But in the leisure game system, everything is confused. But it's not a problem that it's scattered and it's a mix. You need to accept it as it is, but you need to keep an eye on that, because these are the areas, or these are the associations from where later you can also pick some associations who could be incorporated into the normal framework. So this is the table about the quality qualifications, and what is very important, again, at the bottom you can see a blue box which includes the school, university, college systems. These are the age groups which we want to approach. They already have European and global championships, and schools are very important, because if the esports events get into the normal framework, then it's a breakthrough. Why? Because the biggest resistance is usually this area. Because there's the teacher, there's the parent, you need to convince the parent that it is useful, etc., etc. We started to cooperate with the European Student Sport Association, and we started already negotiating with them, and we do hope that later we'll have the opportunity to analyze e-sport together with them. It would be very nice because if they are reached and if we manage to achieve a cooperation, then we could connect them with the German, with the Czech, with the Polish student associations. Then the university level. Again, you need to have an association, a club, in order to be able to establish connections with other European countries and to incorporate this sport into the European level. And now this year I managed to include 2 championships into the European framework, and this is a very, very big achievement. So what is important? A European federation would be very important. We need to design it in a very precise manner, and we need to have a cooperation. And then this whole thing that is called e-sport will increase at a rocket speed. Now the leaders from the 4 countries are here. You could hear that each and every country has its own problems, and unfortunately, energy is scattered everywhere, and it is fragmented because everyone deals with their own little problems. These need to be pulled together, and somehow e-sport should include everything. It is a question whether, for example, whether we can have an agreement with a technical sport. We need to have a connection between them. The e-sport, our gaming sport, and the motorsports. Again, the virtual part of traditional sports, for example, FIFA, NBL, etc., or basketball, handball, etc., they should also appear in esports. Of course, they are not going to dominate the market, but it is going to ensure acceptance For traditional sports, it's very difficult to say that this and that is not a sport, because you see that it's a branch of sports. We are cooperating with them because we can see that it's sports. I would like to reiterate here that schools should be very important, because they are a very important basis for the International Olympic Committee. So this is a huge pillar. So this strengthens acceptance, and that's why we need to involve the school federations. So here's the classical open market. We shouldn't touch it. We are not stupid. We don't want to destroy our own market. It's important. We just need to set up the legal framework, or the regulated framework as well. And there are different actors, players, for example, suppliers, sponsors, etc. It gives a future. We need them. The open market gives the opportunities, because from this huge crowd we can choose that talents. You can find them. This is the source of talents, which will later improve the quality. The legal framework is the last slide. It's the last slide because I didn't want to scare you at the beginning. Here a lot of things need to be set up, irrespectively of the sports branch. This could go for any sport federation. You need to have documents based on which the federations operate. So you need to have a regulation for operations. You need to have a founding document. You need to have an anti-doping regulation, education regulation. You need to have a transfer regulation, how to organize a championship, a league. And it is also important with whom we organize the championship, the disciplinary regulations. These are very important documents which need to be written and created based on the current Hungarian sports legislation. You know what are those documents and regulations which each and every sports federation has to have. So it is the document you need to refer to when you would like to set up an esports federation. Of course, this differs country by country, where you need what kind of regulation. However, we need to know that the European Sports Federation will need to be registered in one of the countries. And if we register it in a given country, then you will need to adhere to that legislation which is in effect in that country. What makes things work? A vision, what we sell. This is the facing. However, there's also the background. The background, the back office, which makes everything work. And we need to have that as well behind the facing. And we need to set up that. We shouldn't lead a war on esports. We should cooperate and we should make a connection between